Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope all of you are fine and doing well. So in our today's lesson, we will discuss about the introduction of classification of elements, that how the elements have been classified. And we have a just simple introduction about this. Basically, before the start of the lecture, you guys must know that there are a lot of elements that have been divided or that has been classified. And these elements have been classified according to their types of properties. And when we have a look on the types of properties, there are basically two types of properties. The first one we have the chemical properties, and the second one we have the physical properties. On the dependence of these properties, the elements have been divided. So, the elements that have been divided or classified on the base of the chemical behavior, there are main group elements, noble gases, transition elements, and the inner transition elements. On the other hand, the elements that have been classified on the base of the physical properties, they are metals, non-metals, and the metalloids. So basically, when we have a look on the previous history of the periodic classification of the elements, it was really fascinating that how we can say that it was a really good, but it cannot be treated in detail. So there are a lot of scientists who just made a memorable contribution towards that. He was the Newland scientist. After that, there was the work of Al-Razes. After that, there was the scientist whose name was Dobrinier. They worked for the classification of the elements. So, but their work as it was just limited, not was applicable to all the elements. So that's why there was an English chemist, Newland, proposed the classification of elements. After that, in 1871, there was a Russian chemist whose name was Mendeleev. He gave a more useful classification process of the elements, and it was a comprehensive scheme. So its classification was mainly divided into periods and groups, and it was mainly known as the periodic table. So this was the simple overview about the classification of the elements. Next, we have some historical background of the classification of the elements. The, mainly the early concepts of the classification of the elements was proposed by Dobrinier triads. Then he just grouped the elements into three and find the atomic number of other elements. Then there was the work of Newlands. Basically, the Newland was an English chemist. He just arranged the elements in 1864, and he made the elements in the group of 8, and he arranged total 62 elements. So it was a simple work of Newland. Then there was the periodic table proposed by the Mendeleevs. This was the most popular work of the Mendeleev. On the other hand, the elements have been divided on the base of their uses or their physical properties. So they are divided as metals, non-metals, metalloids, and alloys. So it is just on the basis of their physical properties. After that, the classification was based upon the group or blocks. There are S block elements, P block, D block, and F block elements that depends upon the electronic configuration of the elements. Then the modern periodic table, it just give the position of the hydrogen and also the position of the rare gases. It was just happened in the modern periodic table of Mendeleev. So this was a simple historical background of the elements. After that, we have the improvements in the modern periodic table or the Mendeleev's periodic table. It was just done by the Henry Moseley. The year was 1887 to 1915 of the Moseley's era. He just made the improvements to the modern periodic table or the Mendeleev's periodic table. Moseley later on discovered that the periodic nature of the elements was associated with their atomic number, not with the atomic mass. So he just arrange elements according to their atomic number, not according to their atomic mass. And this is basically known as the periodicity of the elements, as the properties of the elements are repeated in a regular manner. And then he arranged the elements by atomic number instead of their mass, and he just realized that there was undiscovered elements that have not been discovered, so he just keep the space for those elements that are undiscovered yet. So it was known as the modern periodic table that was just improved by the Muslims in 1911. He just did this work in the year that is 1911. So he arranged the elements in ascending order. The order of arrangement of elements was ascending of their atomic number, that is denoted by Z, and all their chemical properties are repeated in a regular manner. This manner is known as basically the periodicity of the elements. So another improvement, that was the addition of an extra group. That group is known as basically the group 8A. In group 8A, he just keep the noble gases. So the noble gases are in the group 8A. These gases are known as the inert gases. Why they are known as inert gases? Because they do not react with the other. So this was the additional improvement in the Mendeleev's periodic table that was done by the Henry Moseley. So there was another confusion in the Mendeleev's table, was the elements we have like beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, zinc, and cadmium, along with the mercury, that were placed in a single vertical group, while according to their properties they belong to different categories. So the same was true for some other elements that was placed in the periodic table. So the Moseley also give the space by categorizing the periodic table in group A and B. When he just made all these improvement, as it was known as the modern periodic table, and it was a historical work done by the Henry Moseley. I hope you guys understand about the historical background and the improvements in the Mendeleev's periodic table. So if you guys have any queries, you may ask me about that. And the next topic we will discuss in detail about the modern periodic table that was improved by the Moseley, and the year was 1911. For that time, you guys keep learning and have a good day.